we use lungs to breathe. Like there are some, like fish use gills as a respiratory organ, while human being will use lung for respiration. And also there are some animal like toad. Toad has 3 organs for respiration. Toad can breathe through the body, that is through the body surfaces. It is possible for toads to breathe through the body surfaces using lungs, and at the same time toad can also breathe using gills. So amphibian has that characteristics which is peculiar to them, that is they can breathe either by lung, either by gills, or by skin surfaces. So every organism must respire for continuity of life. Another characteristic of living thing is growth. Growth. It is important for organism to grow, like mammals grow, plants also grow. What is growth? Growth is an irreversible increase in size or weight due to the addition of protoplasmic material. Growth is an irreversible increase in size or weight in an animal or plant due to an addition of new protoplasmic material. So it is important for animal to grow, and like for example, when you are growing, you don't need to wash your body before you grow. Naturally you grow. When you're taking food, you grow. That is characteristics of living thing. As we can see, stones don't grow, water don't grow. So this is peculiar to living thing. Another characteristic of living thing is reproduction. Reproduction. What is reproduction? Reproduction is the process by which an organism gives rise to another organism of its kind. Reproduction is the process or ability of an organism to give rise to organism of its own kind. So this is a major important characteristics in living thing. Why reproduction is more important is that reproduction ensures continuity of life. You have to take note of that. Reproduction ensures continuity of life. That is, through reproduction, life is being passed from one generation to another. And we have 2 types of reproduction. One, asexual reproduction. And sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, this is the type of reproduction in which a single organism is involved. This type of reproduction does not require the production of gametes. What does that mean? That is, there is no male gamete and female gamete. So a single organism will split into 2 or many younger ones. And one major examples of asexual reproduction, it takes place in unicellular organism. Asexual reproduction takes place in unicellular organism. And one examples of unicellular organism are, we have amoeba, we have paramecium, we have euglena, we have chlamydomonas. Like for example, reproduction in amoeba is through asexual means, and the process is called binary fission. The process of reproduction in amoeba is called binary fission, which is under asexual reproduction. What is binary fission? Binary fission is the process by which an organism splits into 2 daughter cells. That is, the amoeba itself will split into 2 daughter cells and life continue. And the other one is sexual reproduction. What is sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction is the process by which 2 organisms come together, in which the gametes produced by the male and the female organism fuse together. The male gamete reproduction is sperm cell. The sperm cell is the male gamete, while the ovum is the female gamete. So when the male animal and the female animal come together through the process of intercourse, there's what we call ejaculation. Ejaculation is the way by which the animal will release the male gamete, which is the sperm, into the female reproductive part, and that through the process fertilization can take place and life continue. Another characteristic of living thing is adaptation. Another characteristic is adaptation. What is adaptation? Adaptation is the ability of an animal to live successfully in a particular environment. Adaptation is the ability of an animal to live successfully in a particular environment. That is, the ability of an animal to survive. And for an animal to survive, or any organism, the animal must possess some adaptive feature which will make it able to live in that particular setting. For example, as human beings, for us to survive in the terrestrial ball, that is the biosphere. What is biosphere? I'm talking about the regions where life exists. Human beings can stay on land because we have lungs. So it is through the use of lungs that we breathe through lungs that aids our adaptation on land. And like for example, fish were able to survive in water because they have gills. Also, birds use lungs and some other features like the feather, the wings, that makes it possible for birds to fly and to also stays on trees. So adaptation is the ability of an animal to live successfully in an environment through the aid of some features. The skin, one of the features is the skin. Through our skin, we are able to survive here. The feathers also help the birds, while the gills and the fin also help fish. Like some other plants too. Some plants were able to survive in a particular setting, while others will not survive. For example, there are some plants that are adapted to a salty environment. There are some plants that can survive in a salty environment. Those plants are called halophytes. 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 These are plants that can survive in a salty marsh, that is when the water is salty. And we also have another plants. We have hydrophytes. Hydrophytes, they are plants that can survive in water. And there are other plants. We have xerophytes. The xerophytes, these are plants that can survive in desert. These are plants that can survive in desert where there is little or no water. These are plants that can survive in desert. And we also have epiphytes. Epiphytes, these are plants that can survive by growing on other plants. Epiphytes, they are plants that grows on other plants. So all these plants, the halophytes, the xerophytes, the epiphytes, the hydrophytes, must have the features which will make it possible for them to survive. Like the xerophytes, the plant that can survive in desert. Everybody will know that this plant must be able to conserve water. Because one characteristic of desert is the land is dry, the temperature is very high, and for this particular plant to survive, it must be able to survive water, to survive in that environment. And at the same time, this plant has reduced leaf. The leaf is not at buttress like the one we found in rainforest environment for it to conserve water. While the hydrophytes, the plant that stays in where there is water, they have poor roots. One of the characteristics of plants that survive in water, they have poor roots because the water is much, so there's no need of the root looking for water and live successfully in a particular environment. Even you yourself, you need to be well adapted to that environment before you can survive. Anybody that could not adapt will not be able to survive. So it is possible it is very expedient for every organism, especially man, to be able to adapt. So adaptation is very important in human survival. The last point under the characteristics of living thing is lifespan or death. Lifespan, that is, this is talking about the average age, years, for an organism to live. And death is the end of life. All living organisms die. So no matter how long, no matter how healthy, no matter how healthy you are, a time is coming that the life will be terminated. That is called death. And in biology, you cannot just say a particular person has died without carrying out a test on that person. So in biology, for you to know that someone has died, the heart must stop breathing. When the heart stops beating, that's where the person is dead. So please, I just want us to know when someone faints or in a state of coma, don't just carry the person and start looking for where to bury. We need to employ the knowledge of medical personnel to test vividly, maybe the heart is no more beating. An average human being breathes 72 times in a minute. Take note, 72 times in a minute. So death is the end of life and is one of the characteristics of living things. Now we are going to talk about the differences between plants and animals. The differences between plant and animal. One of the differences between plant and animal is movement. Movements. Animal can move from one place to another. Why movement in plant is fixed? Plant does not move but bend. So the movement in plant is fixed. So plant can bend in the direction either of water, of light, of gravity. Movement in plant is fixed but can bend. Another one is nutrition. Nutrition. The mode of nutrition in animal is heterotroph nutrition. Heterotroph nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic nutrition. That is, this is the process by which this animal depends on another organism to get its food. So animal depend on other organism where we have the consumer. Like the producer, they are plants, that is the green herbs. Animal, they are consumer, and we have the level of consumer. We have the primary consumer, we have the secondary consumer, we have the tertiary consumer. But I want you to know that in nutrition, plant is the producer, while animals are consumer. For example now, let's say I have a green herbs here, and goats get into the farm and feed on the grasses. Goat is the primary consumer. Why? If I now kill the goat, I am now the secondary consumer. So the plants, the green herbs, is the producer. Why the goat that feed on it directly is the primary consumer. Why I, as human being, I feed on the goat, I am now a secondary consumer. Peradventure, when the person now dies, and there are some organisms that feed on dead animals, like vulture, like eagle, that is now tertiary consumer. So you now understand that animal cannot produce its own food. It depends on other organisms for its own production, for it to take nutrients, which is more of plants. While plants, they are autotrophic in nature. Autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition. That is, plants are able to manufacture their own food, making use of sunlight, like I said earlier, through the process of photosynthesis. So plants use photosynthesis to produce its own food, while animals depend on plants for its own food. Another difference is cell wall. Cell wall. There is no cell wall in animal. No cell wall in animal. Why plant has cell wall? So another point is cell membrane. Cell membrane. Animal has cell membrane. Cell membrane present. Cell membrane is absent. Another point is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is absent in animal. No chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is present. No chlorophyll in animal, while chlorophyll is present in plants. What is the function of chlorophyll? Chlorophyll, this is what the plants use for food production through photosynthesis. Another one is sense organ. Animal has sense organ, while sense organs are absent in plants. Sense organs are absent in plants. Examples of sense organ is the brain. Examples of sense organ is the eyes, the skin, the tongue. So sense organs are absent in plants. Another one is starch. Animals store starch as glycogen. Animals store starch as glycogen, while plants store starch as Animals store carbohydrate as glycogen. Animals store carbohydrate as glycogen, while plants store carbohydrate as starch. Animals store carbohydrate as glycogen, while plants store carbohydrate as starch. Another differences are vacuole. Animal has small vacuole, while plant has large vacuole for storage. Animal has small vacuole, while plant has large vacuole for storage. So we are moving to the next one, which is organization of life. Organization of life. Organization of life is talking about the arrangement. Though human organism, organization of life is talking about the arrangements of life in an organism, and we have 4 levels of organization of life. The first one is cellular level. That is the first level. 1, cell. The first level is cell. What is cell? Cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. Cell is the basic structural functional unit of life. So cell is very important in living organism. For life to exist and for life to continue, cell is very important. So the first level in organization of life is cellular level, while the next point is tissue. Tissue is a combination of cells to perform a particular function. Tissue is a combination of cells to perform a particular function. Examples of tissue is we have the muscle, we have the bone, and we have blood. Blood is a liquid tissue, so we have blood. And examples of cell, we have the red blood cell, that is the erythrocyte. The red blood cell, erythrocyte. We also have the white blood cell, leukocyte. Leukocyte. So tissue, they are combinations of cells which perform a particular function. And the next level of organization is organ. Organ is formed as a result of the process where two or more tissues comes together. So when two or more tissues comes together to perform a specific function, that is organ. And we have different organs in the body. The brain is an organ. We have the heart, the liver, the kidney. They are examples of organ. So an organ performs specific function. Like for example, the brain. One of the functions of the brain is for memory. And the part of the brain that is responsible for memory and learning is cerebrum. Cerebrum is very important, which is responsible for learning and memory. So another organ, we have the kidney, we have the liver. The liver is very important because inside the liver, there's what is called gallbladder. And inside the gallbladder, we have what is called the bile. And liver is very important. One of the functions of the liver is detoxification. Liver helps to detoxicate toxic material. For example, drugs and alcohol. So when you take in drugs, when you take anything, alcohol or any poisonous substance, livers helps to detoxicate it. Another function of the liver is it secretes insulin, which helps to reduce sugar level. So that's another function of the liver. And we also have some other organ, like the heart, which helps in breathing. And the fourth level, which is the last level, is system. System is a complex level under organization of life, which has to do with the combination of different organs. So we have different systems in human beings which perform a major function. For example, we have the reproductive system, we have the respiratory system, we have the excretory system, we have the nervous system. So system is a combination of different organs. So we're talking about the nervous system. Under the nervous system, we talk about the brain and the spinal cord. The brain is an organ, and which is under the nervous system. So everything that has to do with the coordination of the body, which has to do with memory, which has to do with how we reason, reflex action, that is controlled by the nervous system. And the digestive system, this has to do with food, taking in food, the food we eat, how the food get to the body, how the food get being digested, the waste product. There are some organs that function under digestive system. And there's also excretory system. The kidney is an organ under excretory system. That is where the urine is being passed out, the formation of urine. Urea formation takes place in the liver. Please take note. The urea formation takes place in the liver while it is passed out through the kidney and through the excretory organ. And like I said earlier, we have the brain, we have under organization of life, we have the cell, tissues, organ. Thank you, and to get in touch with us, don't forget to dial the number that is scrolling on the screen, and at the same time you can message us through WhatsApp or through our email.